Hi guys, how's it going? And welcome back to our allotment for another little tour. So I'm going to try and do a little tour once a month, the same as the gardens as well at home, just to sort of give you an update on what's going on at the allotment, what's doing well, what's maybe not doing so well. So I did one in April, a little mini tour. There wasn't that much up back then, but now there's a lot of stuff that's gone in, a lot of stuff growing. So I just thought I'd give you a little tour around just to show you how things are getting on. So just for reference, we have a 20 metre by 5 metre plot. So we've got a full plot up at the allotment. And this is one side of it, and this is the side I'm actually the most excited about this year. And that's because we've got loads of cut flowers in. So this little area here, going up to the rhubarb, and that is the neighbour's plot. But anything from here downwards, all the way back behind me, is our plot. So this little area here is where we planted 5 little dwarf fruit trees last year. So we've got apple, pear, plum and cherry. So we only planted them last year. They're very, very small still, even though they're going to be dwarf anyway, but they're still very, very small. So we thought we'd utilise this space to grow something else while they're growing up. And we've decided to do some wildflowers, which we've already sown. And you can see some of the little wildflowers starting to come up, all dotted about. And then on top of that, we've added in lots of cut flowers as well. And again, you can see lots of really nice cut flowers that we've added in. So yeah, I'm so excited about this part of the allotment. We're just hoping for a nice sort of happy sea of colour, basically, a really happy place up at the allotment here. So that's that section. And just an update on the fruit trees. So they all seem to be doing really well. They've all sort of leafed out. That one's looking especially good with all the leaves. Cherry tree looking a little bit sad, but it's still pushing a few leaves, so we're going to give it time. We've got our, what was this, pear tree, I think. And then we've got our 2 apple trees in the back that look like they're doing really, really well. And more excitingly, we've got some apples growing. So I had noticed that these had blossomed earlier on, and then now they're actually pushing a few apples, which is such a tiny, tiny little plant. So we'll see if we leave them on. We'll have to see. I think the stems are still quite weak, so we might end up pulling them off and just giving it another year to see, to sort of wait till they grow and get the stems a little bit more stronger. But yeah, so that's that section. And then coming back, something that I did today, which is very exciting, is I planted our 2 rows of dahlias. So this is the 2 rows here. So we've got 10 dahlia plants. That there was actually 2 that came up in the pot, so I've planted them next door. They're just 1, and then the rest of them are there. So I pre-potted these up. I did a video on it, so check that out if you want to after this video. But I did pot them up to sort of get them grown on a little bit earlier, hopefully get some earlier blooms. But they're all doing really, really well. Lots of roots as well going on when I pull them out of the pot. So yeah, I planted those today. Exciting. So hopefully again, that's just going to be a sea of different colours. And the dahlias I've chosen are sort of different types. So we've got pom-pom, decorative, dinner plate. So we've got a few of each, and a sort of different sizes as well. So I'm hoping we're going to have a nice selection of things. So coming on after that, I'm going to keep walking backwards. So after that, we have got our sweet corn patch. So we've got quite a few little sweet corn patches. So again, we've grown that in a grid. That's the recommended way to grow them, so that they can be pollinated by, well, they are pollinated by the wind. So you have to make sure that you sort of plant them in a bit of a grid. If you plant them in a straight line, they ended up, if the wind sort of blows in one direction, it ends up not pollinating. They don't pollinate each other. So we've put them in a nice little grid, so hopefully they will be nicely pollinated by the wind. And then this next section is our potato area. So it starts sort of the other half of where the sweet corn was, going up to the dahlias. So starts there, comes all the way down here, and then all the way across So those are all potatoes. So a lot of these, I did mention in another video, a lot of these actually came up from last year. So we obviously weren't that great at digging them out last year, but a lot of them came back. We decided to just leave them, and then we have sort of put in, where there's gaps, we have put in our seed potatoes that we chitted this year. So we should get loads and loads of potatoes this year, which is exciting. So the next area is, I'll come down this side first. This is where we planted our cucumbers and our cucamelons. So I did make these trellises myself, bit of an experiment. We'll see if they last all summer. They feel quite sturdy. Again, I did another video about that when I planted the cucumbers and cucamelons, sort of explain which ones, which varieties we're actually going to grow this year. We are growing this year. So yeah, so that's the cucumber and cucamelons. And then next to that we've got 2 watermelon plants. So these are sugar baby watermelons. Again, a complete experiment, because we don't know whether we have the weather really to grow watermelons. But we're going to give it a go, because our family absolutely love watermelons. So we really wanted to grow one and harvest it and eat it, our own homegrown watermelons. Wouldn't that be amazing? Okay, and then coming further down, we've got our 2 rows of tomatoes. So these are a mix of beefsteak tomatoes and more smaller snacking tomatoes, sort of mixed in together. Again, I'm just going to keep sort of tying them up as they grow, and I'll sort of prune out the suckers, but I'll show you how to do that in another video when the time comes to do that. I'll show you how I do it. And then coming on after that, we've got our peppers. So a nice row of peppers going. Again, I'm hoping we're going to have a hot enough summer to grow the peppers. They are a bit of an experiment as well this year. Lots of experiments going on this year, but why not? That's what gardening's all about, hey? And then we've got a few rows that we've done here. So we've got 2 rows of beans, 2 rows of beetroot, and then 2 rows of spring onions. So these ones we direct sowed, so nothing's come up yet. And had a bit of an issue with it. The day I planted, or I sowed them, that night we had a massive big rainstorm, and I think some of the seeds just got washed away. So what I have done is actually gone and sort of re-sowed them. So they are going to be a bit late coming up, but that's okay. So fingers crossed, second time lucky, we are going to get some plants coming up. Okay, and then coming back down here, we have got our sort of cool weather crops that we planted. These are one of the first things that we planted. So we've got our Brussels sprouts. So they're looking really good. They're looking really good. And then after that, we've got a row of kale. And again, these are looking pretty good. Sort of been eaten a little bit by something just on the edges of the leaves. Not sure what by, but we'll just have to watch them and see how they go. And then after that, we've got our row of spinach. So these ones already started to bolt. So they sort of started to produce their flowers, which isn't good. It means that they maybe got a bit too hot too early. So what I've done is just sort of nipped the blooms off, and I'm hoping that's just going to stop them from bolting even further, but we'll see. We'll have to see what happens with those. Hopefully we'll get a little bit of spinach off them. And then coming back a bit further, we've got our 1.5 rows of garlic. So we put these in autumn, and we're hoping to harvest them sort of, I don't know, July time, something like that. When they sort of start to yellow and brown a bit, the leaves, and they start to flop a little bit, that's when we'll sort of dig them out. And then coming this way, we've got our 3 gooseberry plants, and now these are doing really well. So I don't know if you can see, but there's lots of little berries coming, which is really exciting. So last year we had just planted these out, so we didn't really get any gooseberries off these plants. And again, this one next to it got some really nice gooseberries coming there, a little bit on that plant, but the 2 main ones are these 2 that seem to be doing really well. So yeah. And then our back row here, we've got our raspberries. So these 4 raspberries we planted this year actually, sort of earlier on this year. So we've got 2 summer fruiting ones and then 2 autumn fruiting ones, which still have to sort of push a lot of leaves and grow. So yeah, I don't know, we planted them this year, so I don't know if we're going to get any fruit of them this year, but we'll just have to wait and see. And then there were a couple of suckers that I found that I planted as well, so they're going to come up, and then there was just a random one that came up on its own as a sucker, so I'm just going to leave it there. So hopefully we'll get some more suckers and we can just fill in this patch with more raspberries as we go. And then next to that we've got our justaberry bush. So I'll just come around this way and just show you. Again, we've got some really good berries coming along. So a justaberry is a mix between a gooseberry and a blackcurrant. So again, last year we didn't get any fruit really, maybe a couple, but this year hopefully we're going to have loads and we can really try them out, because I've never really tasted a justaberry before, so I don't know what it's like, but yeah, looks like we're going to have a good crop of it. And then coming to the other side of the allotment, we've got our little lonely red currant bush. I can't see any fruit on this at all yet, so whether they're just it's not going to fruit, or it's just going to fruit later on, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. And then coming over to the side, we've got our rhubarb. So we've got 5 rhubarb plants in this little area, and they are looking really good. So we've got some nice stalks coming up here. I think they'll be ready to harvest very soon. Lots more in there as well. These other ones are a little bit dinky, so we'll have to wait for those to grow a little bit more. And then coming a bit further back again, we've got our strawberry patch. So these strawberries did really well last year. I think it must have been like the heat and the sun that we had last summer, and we just got to harvest tons and tons of strawberries. Every day we came up and there were things to harvest. The kids loved it. So I am going to net these, because last year we netted them and it just kept the birds off from eating all the strawberries before we got to them. So I'm going to do that again this year. I think that's a good idea. So yeah, but again, I've got plenty of flowers coming on these strawberries, so I think we're going to have a really good crop again this year. And then our last little area is our sort of squash area. So we've planted in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 courgettes, so 2 different types of courgettes, a green one and a yellow one, and then we did have 2 butternut squash plants there and there. One has died, so I don't know what happened there. And then we've got 2 rows, 1, 2 and 1, 2 of pumpkins. So I've got to say the squash plants are looking a little bit sad at the minute, but they all have flowers on them, so yeah, I'm sure they will come round. I think it's just the sort of transplanting into the allotment where it's yeah, it probably just needs time to adapt. So yeah, that is the allotment. So swimming back round, that's where the potatoes, sweet corn, dahlias, cut flowers, fruit trees are. So yeah, really exciting. Alright guys, so I hope you've enjoyed this little tour of the allotment. So I'm going to try and do this every month, just to kind of see what's doing really good at this time of year. So every month what's sort of growing, what's doing well, maybe what's not doing so well, we'll see. And I'll sort of keep giving you updates on all the different flowers, vegetables, fruit that we're growing here. Alright guys, thanks so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope you're getting a chance to maybe get into your gardens or allotments to plant some veg, fruit, flowers, whatever takes your fancy. Alright, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.